Welcome to the NBA Prop Pick Show, powered by EV Analytics. I'm John Mettler. He's Adam Scherher. We are back, and we are back live. First show back for me doing this one. Before we get into the picks, before we get in kind of the playoffs, last night, NBA draft lottery. Adam is a huge Washington Wizards fan. What do you think about how the draft lottery played out?
I mean, it's rigged, but not really, but it was. So the thing that actually kind of made me laugh was earlier yesterday, I saw somebody tweet, what's the biggest narrative for, if the NBA were to rig the draft, what's the narrative? And, they were like, it has to be the Mavs, right? And I agreed that it was the Mavs, but my first thought before they mentioned the Mavs, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, was San Antonio, getting them like Cooper Flag with Wemby. So I really laughed when I look at the draft order, and not only did the Mavs get one, but then the Spurs get two. I'm like, oh, so the two teams that I think were like the most most skeptical about just end up 1-2 back to back.
When I was watching it, and right before they went to commercial, and they're like, okay, here's the teams who are in the top four. Like, you kind of had that second to process it while it went to commercial. And I was like, wow, this is awful just all the way around, because I don't want him on the Hornets. I just don't want anyone talented. Sorry, Hornets fans. I mean, you should just be in the portal. It's just, I don't want him to go ruin his career there. And then you're looking at like Spurs, they'll pair him with Wemby. That'll be like just the most dominant team moving forward. The Mavs, you're like, oh, what a bailout for Nico Harrison. And then the Philadelphia 76ers, it kind of felt like a bailout for them too, where it's like, hey, you get Cooper Flag, even though you had Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. You're not supposed to be one of these worst teams. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know where I want him to go at this point of these top four. It's just not who I thought would be in the top four. My question to you, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you almost have to trade him, do you not? Like, you played out this timeline of our window to win a championship is right now. We don't want the younger Luka Doncic. We kind of want the older Anthony Davis. You can't roll with Cooper Flag then if that's your stance. You're kind of going backwards on that. Don't they have to trade him for Giannis Antetokounmpo? What do you think about that?
I've kind of been going back and forth on it because, I agree with you that, logically, you make that trade, you try and win with Giannis and Davis, but at the same time, you don't have to double down on your Luka mistake. Like, you're getting gifted what everybody thinks is the next young superstar. You can just be like, okay, we'll see how this goes with Davis and Flag, and we're going to build around Flag. Like, you don't have to double down and then trade being gifted, the next young superstar for, as good as he is, an aging Giannis to pair with Davis and, really be in a hole once those two guys are done. So I don't think they have to do it, but obviously it wouldn't be very surprising if they did. The one thing that, I've seen mentioned that I am fascinated by is there has to be some chance that Nico just passes on Flag too, right? Which would just be like the best thing ever.
That I saw a bunch of tweets with that. Like, that would be, if you're the Mavericks ownership, you'd have to fire him before that pick even goes in. Like, right. If he told you I'm not taking Cooper Flag, he'd have to be fired. I think the second part of you're talking about the Mavericks, do they double down, go for the older roster? If they don't, doesn't it feel like Giannis might end up in San Antonio in your division? And then you're like, wow, this is way worse. Like, the San Antonio Spurs have the second overall pick. They have other draft capital. They have younger guys. They also have, you just trade for De'Aaron Fox. You have Stephon Castle on Rookie of the Year. Then Dylan Harper is like a backcourt guy as well as shooting guard, point guard. So you don't really have room for all three. So a trade makes a ton of sense. So I feel like if you're the Mavericks, that almost kind of forces your hand too. It's like, well, if we don't get Giannis, he might be coming to our division. And then it's Giannis and Wemby, De'Aaron Fox. It's no fun for us either, right? So I think it's kind of interesting. I think that those three teams being in the top three just creates the most chaotic offseason you could expect, because I'm sure the Philadelphia 76ers probably want to move that pick as well. They have a top three pick. They can go get a win now piece. I feel like all three teams would want a win now piece. So that's
it's weird because the top three in the draft, none of them are bad teams went home. Right. So it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Playoff series, Cavs down 3-1, Celtics down 3-1. You think either team can come back, or do you think they're just cooked?
I think they're both cooked, just because of injuries. Obviously, I assume Tatum's done. The Cavs, Mitchell's the only guy on the injury report for Cleveland today, but they're clearly banged up, and it's just, obviously as hard as it is to come back from 3-1.
Yeah, I saw a tweet with Tatum there, and they're like, we lost. They're like, when he went down, they're like, oh, this series is over. And then they saw the injury, and they're like, oh, next year's over too. This is not good at all. Let's get going to the picks, though. We have two. We have both are from the Denver OKC game. The Pacers Cavs game is just so tricky. You don't really know with Donovan Mitchell, and that kind of holds up a lot of the props there. But the very first one here, you have a bet rebounds, and it is Chet Holmgren under 9.5 rebounds. Why do you like this one?
He's been running hot so far in terms of his rebound rate. And obviously you can potentially say that some of that has to do with the matchup. But if you look at his rebound chances per 48 minutes in this series, it's slightly higher than the regular season. It's very similar to what you saw in round one, but he's converting 62.2% of his rebound chances so far. During the regular season, it was like 54%. Overall in the postseason, it's been like 55%. And at that conversion rate, he's averaging 9.6 rebounds per game in this series. So I like getting the plus money here. We have him projected for 30 minutes. He's averaged 30.9 in the series. So I think we're in the right ballpark there. So I think you're just, banking on at least some regression in terms of how many rebounds he actually grabs.
Yeah, I think the nice part too, because you're going under here, is they do have, Hartenstein's doing a good job on Jokic, but you also have Jalen Williams as like the backup center. Jalen Williams for Arkansas. It's so confusing to talk about the Thunder. He's only playing like, not a lot of minutes, but it's still like that third option who can come off the bench and take minutes away from the bigs. I do know, I forget the stat. Someone put out like it was like when he's the primary defender on Jokic, he's like really holding, like his field goal percentage is like way down, even better than what Hartenstein's doing. Obviously, small sample size. He doesn't play a lot of minutes, but just do think it's interesting that probably keeps him, in the rotation to some degree. And then you have the three bigs. So it's not necessarily just Chet Holmgren, getting all like that can take minutes away from him. That Jalen Williams at center, every time I watch the Thunder, I think when he hits a three, it's like the most devastating possession you've ever had as a defense, because you cut off SGA and then you cut off J-Dub and then you like make all these good rotations. Maybe you stop Holmgren and then he just pops a three from the perimeter. And it's like he's always wide open because you're not really someone you're watching. So we're going to go Chet Holmgren.
One other thing on
go ahead.
One other thing on Chet too, from the projection standpoint, I mentioned he's averaging 30.9 minutes per game in the series. That's misleading. Like he's played 28, 26, 40, and 29. So again, that 30-minute projection I think is very fair when you consider median also, and not just mean.
Yeah. There was the one outlier there with the 40 minutes. I saw as well. Nick and Derek saying in the chat here, we got FanDuel plus 116 for Chet Holmgren. So if you have FanDuel, that is probably your best price. It is always moving. So Chet Holmgren under 9.5 rebounds. If you have FanDuel plus 116, the second bet from this game here, we are going to FanDuel, and we are going to go Russell Westbrook over 3.5 rebounds plus 134. So that's Russell Westbrook over 3.5 rebounds plus 134. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, pretty much the opposite of everything I just said about Chet. Westbrook averaging like 1.8 rebounds per game or something like that in this series. We have him projected for 26 minutes. There is obviously volatility there, but we have seen him do a good job defensively. That was obviously a big talking point after the last game. So I do feel relatively comfortable that Westbrook's likely playing mid-20s in minutes here. And during the regular season, his rebound percentage was like double what it has been so far in the postseason. If you take his regular season rebounding conversion rate, apply it to the opportunities he's gotten so far in this series, it puts you like right at a 3.5 projection. So I like getting the plus money here. Again, obviously, when you're talking about conversion rates on rebounding, there is some wiggle room there because not every matchup is the same. When you talk about guards rebounding, a lot of it is going to have to do with scheme. Like are they, the Lakers being the perfect example, historically, where, Josh Hart back in the day is just, by design grabbing rebounds. So, there is that element to it, but we know Westbrook in general is a good rebounding guard. We know he's not converting at a high rate at all so far in the series. So I think you're getting a good price based on him being unsustainably low in terms of conversion rate on his rebound chances.
Nick saying plus 136 on the 4+ line. I love when those don't align because it just doesn't make any sense, especially when it's at the same sportsbook, but you can grab 2 extra cents there. If you go for the 4+, Bobby Newport checking in from his doctor's appointment. Love to see it. You look at this game, you said his minutes projection, you say 26, right?
26, yeah.
I feel like if you were coaching in this game, you're on the road, you're game 5, you're tied 2-2. It's very important. He's already had like a pretty tight bench. I think when you're at home, you probably, for David Adelman, you feel a little more comfortable playing like a Peyton Watson or Julian Strawther. But I feel like on the road here, especially in OKC, because of his history, I don't think Russell Westbrook fears any matchup. I don't think he fears any building. Definitely doesn't fear OKC. This is he was a big time player for them for many years. I feel like he's a bench player you'd really lean on tonight, like minutes wise, more than when you're at home. I feel like you can kind of get away with a couple more guys when you're at home. They're more comfortable, but on the road, I wouldn't be surprised if that tightens up a little bit and you see Russell Westbrook get a couple more minutes out of that.
Yeah, and the thing you have to keep in mind too is like the options that Denver has. Obviously there's a very large contingent of people that are just gonna kind of say, oh, well, playing Russell Westbrook more isn't the answer. But with the options Denver has and the way he fits into this team, it kind of is.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Mike Malone got fired for wanting to play Westbrook over Pickett. And then we're in the playoffs and they're playing Westbrook and Pickett's like long gone. He hasn't been in the rotations at all. So it's kind of ironic that Michael Malone got fired for that. And they're leaning like heavily on their veterans there. So we only have the 2 bets today. Nothing from Cavs Pacers. The 2 bets are Chet Holmgren under 9.5 rebounds, Russell Westbrook over 3.5 rebounds. This concludes the NBA Prop Pick Show powered by EV Analytics. We will be back tomorrow. We will be live once again. Good luck with your bets. Del, play the song.